show of strength. Bitcoin bucks the trend as the war with Iran intensifies and oil prices spike. Can crypto maintain its momentum? Predicting the future. The prediction market space is also heating up as the big players seek fresh funding and regulators get twitchy. Tired of winning. Hyperliquid had an incredible 2025 and looks set to beat the bear market blues. We analyze its success and assess its chances of becoming a top 10 crypto in the months ahead. And we'll have Sigma level TA, tweets of the week, dates for the diary, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Coin Bureau News Live. Congratulations, you found us on the right channel. You followed instructions. We are live on the Coin Bureau podcast channel for the first time today for logistical reasons that I won't go into here. But if you want, Nick can give you a quick 10-minute explanation of it later on. But Nick, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. But we're also on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay.
So for our one viewer on Facebook, the old boomer over there, and our 10 Gen Zs on Twitch as well, we welcome you. Welcome to the Coin Bureau Live.
Yeah, we're catering for all audience, all generations of audience here. Yes, we are live on the Coin Bureau podcast channel. Today we are going to be talking about the week in crypto. Obviously, I should warn you folks, today's stream is a little heavy on the crypto content. It's quite crypto focused today. Now, I know that you guys come here for our geopolitical and war-based analysis. That is what we've built our reputation up on doing. But I'm afraid we are going to talk about a fair amount of crypto today. So if that's not for you, just be aware.
Yeah.
We were actually talking off air, given that war seems to be just everywhere right now. Maybe future live streams might come from our new Coin Bureau conflict channel, perhaps.
We are looking to expand out, and we've all become geopolitical and military experts, given what's going on here. So we're going to get some guests on, talk about just exactly how are we going to open the straits, who's winning in this conflict, how much does a THAAD battery cost, what's the interception rate looking like, guys, what's the 4D chess move Trump is involved in. Do
you think we could get some sort of debate going between someone on a US general and maybe like a member of the IRGC or something like that?
I think that'd be a good idea. We can get on the Iranian foreign minister.
Yeah.
We can go and invite him on, and we can try and get on one of these pro-MAGA guys, and basically they can battle it out in terms of like the strategy. It'd be interesting.
The title of that writes itself, doesn't it? It's like US general destroys Iranian foreign minister or something like that. So let us know in the comments if that's the sort of content you'd like to see coming from Coin Bureau in the months ahead as the bear market drags on. But yes, we will start talking about some crypto now. So it's been crypto is actually, dare I say it, look, the chart is looking pretty green at the moment.
It's looking good, guys. Surprising. Wow, hey. And Bitcoin's had 8 consecutive days closing in the green. The first time this has happened in over 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
8 consecutive days. So
what's going on?
I mean, given our luck, Guy, probably this is the first day it goes down on the stream day. I mentioned that I jinxed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but anyways, guys, of course, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell. Our progression of our likes, hopefully we can get it above. I don't know where we've been able to hit it out last week.
I think we got to the dizzy heights of 20% last week. So, sky's the limit, folks.
Still something, guys. So let's take a look at the week that was with Bitcoin. And markets in general. So if you recall, on Monday, we opened up with oil skyrocketing. This is the end of the first week of the conflict in Iran. And oil had shot up to 100 and it was up 23% in just 10 minutes on the market open.
That's meme coin energy.
Exactly. For a global commodity that powers the entire world economy, from shipping to cars to energy, all like that.
It then fell again on the news that the G7 finance ministers had got together to release some emergency reserves.
Yeah, the moves are just completely wild. Like I said, for an asset that's the global commodity, the engine for the world economy is moving like a meme coin. It's up 20% and then down to $80, up 20% and down 10% in a day. It's just madness.
Yeah. Now, someone all the while was watching from the sidelines, getting ready to do what he does best, and it was, of course, none other than Michael Saylor, just under 18,000 BTC for the trifling sum of $1.28 billion.
I mean, give the guy the credit, really. I mean, irrespective of what's going on, he does not care. Just buy, right? Yep. Accumulate like a vacuum cleaner.
Yep. Getting up towards 750,000 BTC.
Staggering.
Impressive.
Staggering.
Impressive.
It's either scary or mind-blowing, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
But on Tuesday, we had some news. The banks still, in terms of, they're not letting up, and they're not very happy with the fact that the OCC is now granting charters to crypto companies. So they're fighting back. You know, they just coming out from they don't want anyone to challenge their monopoly.
Yep, they want to be able to keep paying you less than 1% of interest rate on your deposits, because that's the way it's always been. Bitcoin, meanwhile, broke above 71K.
There we go, again, perfectly. Wednesday, we had the news that the International Energy Agency, or the IEA, was meeting to see how they could increase oil output.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any really easy answers on that, does it? It's like, do we stop attacking? Do we stop attacking one country, or do we lift the sanctions on another? Or
it seems like they've erred on to the latter. It seems.
Yeah.
So Putin's smiling to the bank, man.
Yeah.
And then the markets initially rallied on the news from the transport. The Energy Secretary in the US, Mr. Secretary Chris Wright, who said that the US Navy has successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz to ensure oil remains flowing to global markets. The markets did rally, but there was a catch.
Right. What? Oh, right. Yeah, he deleted the tweet.
3 minutes later, he deleted it.
3 minutes later?
But the oil markets rallied in the manner, like 3 to 5 minutes later, he deleted it. But the oil markets rallied, so somebody insider traded that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure there must have been a Polymarket bet for that. Meanwhile, the CPI numbers also came out on Wednesday, and they were bang in line with expectations.
Yeah, they were.
And there's Jerome Powell there. More of him in just a moment. Thursday, basically, folks, don't get too excited about rate cuts. We're not getting many.
Current projections are only about one by the end of the year. Only one rate cut. Okay. And 1 month ago, it was at about it was only 25% chance. 1 month ago, it was 25% chance of only one rate cut this year. Now it's 78% chance.
Okay. Yeah. The markets, of course, did not like that news. They took a bit of a tumble. Although Bitcoin, it has to be said, kind of held steady.
Yeah, the real risk-off hedge now in these past 2 weeks. Steady lads. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, on Friday, we had a PCE inflation, the Fed's preferred inflation measure. It was pretty much bang in line with expectations.
It was. And we saw Bitcoin break 73K. Just slowly nudging itself up, just slow and steady wins the race, which took us to the weekend. Actually, we had a very solid week of inflows on the spot ETFs.
Exactly, that's no doubt part of the contributing factor to that price rally. Mm-hmm. War, of course, continued, and we broke this down. We regularly break this down in our Telegram channel, the Coin Bureau Telegram channel. So if you guys aren't in that channel, you're missing some serious alpha, some war alpha, the war room. The Coin Bureau War Room, where we go.
Do you know what I have been? I don't want to shill our own product too much, but I have actually been using this to kind of follow what's going on, because I've given up on Twitter. Like the amount of just pure nonsense out there. There was the stuff that was going around over the weekend was there was something going around that, like, Netanyahu had been killed in an airstrike or something like that. It was just like, you'd think like even the toddler could spot that this was just fake news, but people were running with it.
And even AI-generated garbage, but we've got some S-tier fact checkers here at Coin Bureau, so we don't let that stuff get through. We only filter the real stuff. So if you guys aren't subscribed, go and subscribe right now, Coin Bureau Telegram channel.
No fake news.
There we go.
Bitcoin was back above 74K. It was having a good weekend. And of course, guess who was bidding?
Yep. Last week, Saylor bought $1.57 billion this week, which is even bigger than last week.
Okay.
He bought it last week, so the week prior, even bigger. So which is great to see he's still bullish and buying, but it makes me wonder how much of this, the reason that Bitcoin is holding above 70K is just because he's buying.
It's all him.
It's all him.
It's all him. And there he is.
The market.
Over 750,000 BTC now. Okay, so the week ahead we've got the PPI, we've got a Fed meeting, FOMC. That's they're going to have some interesting conversations given what's happened since the last one. We've also got jobless claims coming as well.
Yeah. You can just imagine Powell like going into this FOMC, like he's just got through. He's finally been the court case has been dropped. He's found a sigh of relief. He got home, and he was like, I'm looking forward to the next FOMC. No more stresses. You know, the tariff. The Supreme Court took down the tariffs. And now he's
no. Sorry, Jerome.
Oil price over $100 a barrel.
Yeah. Did we talk about that? I thought we had a.
No, we took it out. Just I don't want to bore the guys too much with the legalese of the court cases. But yeah, the news was that a lower court threw out the charges that were brought to Powell by the DOJ. Mm-hmm. But as we mentioned, Bitcoin now in terms of the weekly chart, I wanted to bring this to your attention. Bitcoin is back to a crucial zone, the 73K level. We unfortunately didn't manage to close last week above that zone, but we now within that zone now, between 73 to 74K. That's a strong resistance level. So we need to close above it this week if we want to have a continuation of this bullish reversal. So keep an eye on that. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, we're now. I mean, it's the first time in over 2 years that we've had 8 consecutive green daily closes. Well done.
Well done. Well done, everyone. We did it. Well done, Michael Saylor. Yes, now, if you folks are looking for an exchange to trade this volatility in these wild times on, then one place you should go to is Tubit. It is an excellent international exchange, and you just need an internet. You just need the internet.
Are you going to do dial-up? Are you going to dial up?
You just need a dial-up connection and one of those email addresses.
Carrier pigeons with your notification to trade.
just strap your ID to a carrier pigeon, let it go. It'll go off to the Tubit offices, and you'll be fine. No, you just need an email address to sign up.
Yeah, there we go. Top tier international exchange, 90K. If you can go and try it out, as guys said, just an email address. Try it out, have a play around. If you like the trading experience, then you can go and deposit, and you can get up to 90K in trading rewards, as well as an instantaneous VIP level 1 upgrade, which avails you of 50% off trading fees. And this, you get this for life. So go and hit the QR code over there or the link in the description and sign up to Tubit.
Bang. Okay. All right. I will just give you a quick sentiment update, Nick. Generally, people are doing pretty well. Rune is unimpressed with the way we are looked. They are very badly dressed today.
I mean, guys.
Look, we're nicely contrasting. Look, I wear the same thing every week, as Brett likes to constantly point out.
That is true. How can you be? Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
It's a T-shirt. It's literally a T-shirt. What have
you
got on? A hoodie?
I'm a hoodie. Yeah, what's wrong with that, guy?
I like the way you're sort of almost fading into the background. Or if it wasn't for the writing, you'd almost be a disembodied head, which would be great.
That'd be
TV.
fun. That would be good TV. I should do that next time. Just wear black pants as well.
Yeah.
Just a full black hoodie. Maybe, yeah. Or maybe even cool, just like the hoodie cap on, and then you can also just put my head like with floating
it's
face.
It's just your floating face in the void. Oh. Yeah, that's what we need. And Schwab T, regular viewer and commenter, was bullish last week and is taking his victory lap. Well earned, sir. Enjoy it. Okay, so yes, generally, and it seems like, given from the viewer figures, it seems like people have found us. I imagine there's a couple of people refreshing the main channel frantically, wondering where we are, but here we are. So well done there. And we will come back to some of your comments and interjections a little later. But for now, Nick, we need to talk about prediction markets.
Yeah, because they have been the main character over the past few months. This is ChatGPT's rendition.
What you're saying that's AI generated? I cannot believe it.
I know, Guy. I know you're really impressed with my graphic design ability, but that unfortunately was not me. No, that was a ChatGPT.
Okay. So yes, it's just another day in the world of prediction markets. So obviously, Kalshi and Polymarket are the big ones here, and these guys are not slowing down. They're seeking more funding. Actually, they're $20 billion valuations for both of them after that figure.
Exactly. I think, and this is also a 2x on their valuation from late last year. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of inflows to these platforms, their combined weekly volumes hit $5.9 billion. So Kalshi and Polymarket set this record. And with Kalshi operating 85% of the 327,000 active trades.
Active markets.
Oh, sorry, markets. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know Kalshi had quite such a lead there. It wasn't so long ago that these guys were sort of emerging around the 2024 election, was it? And there was a lot of question over whether this was going to be a thing or whether it was going to peter out. But it is still going from strength to strength. And obviously, when something like this comes along, when a disruptive sector like this comes along, the regulators start getting all jumpy, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And the states are not having this. They're not excited about this, and they have sued and issued cease and desist orders against the prediction market apps, arguing that they violate gambling laws.
Okay, yeah, because it's only the established gambling companies that are allowed to offer gambling services. There is guidance coming from the CFTC. This happened last week, Thursday. It made two moves to begin establishing policy for prediction market oversight, with a staff-issued advisory to regulated firms and the issuance of a document that marks the start of a formal rulemaking process.
So we are getting some guidance, which is good. And if the CFTC is going to overtake regulatory oversight of prediction markets, it could give us some clarity around that. Although one thing that many people have been discussing recently around prediction markets is, firstly, the concerns about insider trading. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, questions of morality when it comes to particular kinds of markets. So firstly, as it relates to insider trading, and there has been a lot of this, suspicious bets made, not just with regards to this, but prior as well, last year with the tariffs and many other of these large-scale events. You see insiders profiting from this. And in this particular case, there were large anonymous bets that were cashed in on the Iran strike, and they just happened hours before. So there's clearly someone who had more information trading on it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a moment because I think there's an interesting debate to be had here. But we should also look at this, as Nick mentioned, this idea of the morality surrounding these so-called death contracts, which is basically people betting on things that turn out very badly for other people, namely that they get killed or bumped off in airstrikes or whatever it is. Kalshi actually invoked what was called a death carve-out clause. They ruled. Now, this was on a market that the late Ayatollah Khamenei would leave office, and it turns out he did leave office courtesy of a number of Israeli missiles. But
technically, he didn't leave his office because he was killed in his office.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
How would the market have resolved that?
Okay. Yes, so Kalshi ruled that since Khamenei left office because he died, rather than was ousted politically or whatever like that, the market would not pay out the full $1 yes value.
Yeah, although Polymarket did take a more liberal approach to this, and they had a bit of a debate period around it. How they would settle this market. But this raises two questions. One is the one about insider trading, and the other is around the morality of certain markets. And starting with the insider trading thing, I think one of the arguments I've seen is the insider trading is actually beneficial to the flow of information, because when someone who is an insider is moving the markets and buying a particular contract, you are seeing in real time the slow flow of information coming out, right? So you can automatically see something is about to happen, whereas opposed to the asymmetric information where you don't know what's going to happen and someone else can't let their view be expressed in any particular way, and therefore it just comes as a surprise. So it's like this known truth that is being revealed slowly through the dynamics of capitalistic markets.
Yeah.
On these prediction markets. So that's one of the arguments I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way they're providing a platform to aggregate information. Now, just because some of that information is coming from, what should theoretically be a closed source, that is still information that gives you an idea of the potential outcome, isn't it? Because, and I guess this is why a lot of people are such a fan in that it's not necessarily asymmetric, as you say. This could be a way for you to get a point of view on something that you wouldn't normally get because an insider has basically gone and put money on it.
Yeah, what I was saying in terms of the asymmetric information is, for example, if there was no market that existed on something like this, and people who are insider traders, they could just go and buy massive stacks of, I don't know, stocks or oil stocks, right, or something like that. Or they could go and buy massive oil futures, and you wouldn't know and be able to ascertain whether there's something that's about to happen. Whereas if you look at the prediction markets and you see that the share of, in terms of airstrike coming next tomorrow, which is the bet in this particular case, is rising aggressively, or someone's put a massive trade on that, you're more likely to wonder, something is happening here, right?
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting discussion. I think that, and it comes back to who gets harmed in the case of insider trade. And this is a fact that people who don't have that inside information do get harmed. But if in this particular case, you are revealing your hand to a certain degree.
Yeah. And I guess some people probably prefer that to a lot of the more conventional forms of gambling, which especially if you're talking casino games and things like that, are basically games of luck.
Yeah.
Where in which the house always wins. And I think that's an important thing to point out, isn't it? That with prediction markets, another really unique feature of them is that you're not betting against the house. You're betting against you're going into markets with other players.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think I can imagine there's a fair amount of disillusionment with the kind of regular gambling industry because that is tooled basically to relieve you of your money. Even if you do get lucky, a few times, over the long run, you will end up losing your shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And now as it relates to the question of markets that are questionable or immoral, some may consider immoral those, for example, when people are like they killed or they die, and putting out markets on that. Should we ban that? I mean, and how do you police that necessarily? Because, for example, you could put out a market that some person, hypothetically, right, Trump doesn't serve out his full term. Now, in any amounts of situations could lead to that happening. It could be he's impeached. It could be they invoke the 13th Amendment, or it could be that unfortunately he passes. But one of those things is going to that all of those outcomes are still going to lead to the market itself resolving as he doesn't, right, or no. So if it was a situation where he does unfortunately pass before his term is ended, would you say that's an immoral market? Because it's like, would it not resolve?
Yeah.
It's the answer. So it depends how you frame it, I suppose.
It's interesting the sort of gambling sector sort of struggling to find a conscience, isn't it? It's sort of like, it's fine for people to lose money on everything else. But,
people literally lose their entire lives and livelihoods gambling with gambling addictions. And you're telling me that they take issue with the betting on some sort of an event that is someone else. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this ends up, especially from a legislative point of view, because I kind of feel the sector itself is gathering so much traction, and I think it's really instructive that the incumbents, the likes of DraftKings and whatever, the casino lobby, are very, very deeply against prediction markets because they, that shows that they see them as a real threat. So I don't think prediction markets are going to go anywhere. And I guess the only thing that could really stop them is a sort of coerced, concerted legal effort. A conservative legislative effort, which I don't know. I don't know if it depends how good their lobbyists are, I suppose.
I suppose, yeah. Democrats are not a big fan of it, but we'll see what happens after the midterm elections. But if you guys are not necessarily a fan of trading on prediction markets and you prefer to trade the traditional financial markets or the crypto markets, then we couldn't think of a better place to do that than on our second brand partner. This is BitGet. And BitGet has, although they are a crypto exchange, they've got BitGet TradFi, which allows you to trade in numerous different crypto TradFi assets, including gold, tokenized silver, stocks. And you can do it so just with Take USDT. First of all, create a BitGet account in case you don't have one. Scan that QR code or hit the link in the description. Go over there. You can trade directly with USDT up to 500 times leverage, and you can enjoy deep liquidity with low slippage. And also, you can also get up to 50K in sign-up bonuses over there on BitGet.
Yeah, maybe chill on the 500x leverage, especially if you're new to it. But you know, there's some great stuff there. So thanks to BitGet. Now we need to talk about there's pretty much, you know, other than Bitcoin, which isn't really doing much at the moment. There's kind of only one other crypto project that I can sort of summon the energy to be excited about at the moment. And that is, of course, Hyperliquid.
Hyperliquid. Did you like my AI-generated image of you, Guy?
Yes.
Basically sitting there.
Oh, you mean that wasn't a photo that was taken this morning? Yes, I do. There's a lot of Hyperliquid. There's some nice Hyperliquid merch in there. Can I ask? I seem to have a can of Red Bull on the go, and also a can of oil
with an open flame.
With an open flame next to it. What's going on there? What is the thinking?
It's a nice romantic night trading Hyperliquid oil contracts with a can of oil open.
Is that supposed to be an oil-scented candle or something? A crude oil-scented candle?
And meanwhile, the stacks of cash and the Hyperliquid branded cup in front of you.
Yeah. Well, of course, you know, I like to keep a few stacks of cash around the place, you know, just to sort of rubble over myself at various points. But yes, it is.
ARB well done, bro.
Some interesting ideas from the AI there. So yeah, 2025 obviously was a banger of a year for Hyperliquid, as you will probably notice. Well over 500,000 users, almost $3 trillion in trading volume in just a year.
And they generated almost over $840 million in trading in revenue. And also, more recently, there's quite a few milestones. So it's actually just dominating the perp DEX landscape. So they processed about $40.7 billion in perp volume in 7 days to January the 19th. And they're now well ahead of Aster, Lighter, other competitors like EdgeX, etc.
Yeah, this was a lot of the meta last year, wasn't it? Towards the end of last year, Aster emerged first, and then you had these other ones, and they were all running, you know, points farming campaigns, and those did attract a lot of attention. And the questions around Hyperliquid then are like, well, you know, up until then it had of course been performing really well, but how was it going to perform when suddenly all this competition came in? And obviously the likes of Aster, you know, has some pretty heavyweight backers. Yeah. So there were big questions over whether Hyperliquid would be able to maintain its dominance. And of course, this all fed back into the valuation of the Hype coin, didn't it? Because of these, you know, the using protocol revenue to fund buybacks.
Yeah. And so much was the success of Hyperliquid that it actually flipped Ethereum in 7-day revenue. So this was 12.8 million in a 7-day protocol revenues as of February 3rd, 2025. This is back in February, beating Ethereum's 11.5 million.
Wow. Now, one of the big things that Hyperliquid has done recently, and I think is kind of the reason why it's you know, so far ahead now, is tokenized commodity futures.
Yeah.
So on the likes of oil, but also stocks, precious metals, etc. And Hyperliquid's HIP3 permissionless market hit a record $1.2 billion in open interest, and that was just a few days ago on the 8th of March.
Yeah, and oil futures contracts led with 1.62 billion in 24-hour trading volume, while the index contract topped open interest at $213 million. And it's quite crazy. You can actually get a reference point, especially in these volatile markets, around what oil could be trading at, because of course oil doesn't trade 24/7. It closes on the weekend. So you can kind of get a sense of how the market's going to react on a Monday by seeing what's happening on Hyperliquid.
Yeah, it really gives you a sense, I think, of where kind of crypto is headed. And, you know, tokenized stocks and commodities are going to play an increasingly large role. And actually, you know, this is a realization I came to last week. I sort of out of the gates, I don't think I necessarily faded Hyperliquid, but I was curious to see how it would turn out. Obviously, they had the jelly thing, which was a bit controversial, and I guess it's always sort of been slightly distrustful of perps in general, given that you can absolutely lose your shirt on them. But yeah, basically, I haven't quite full ported into hype. I did hold some hype. I have held some hype for quite a while, but I have rotated quite a large proportion of my portfolio now into Hyperliquid. So Bitcoin and hype are now my two largest holdings.
The biggest question I have is why on earth do you have the
yes? Can we go back there?
Why on earth is the Iranian flag hanging in the back of your? Why you got an Iranian flag in the back of your office, Guy? Are you a secret IRGC fan?
Listen, we should just focus on the fact that I look very good in profile, and I've got a very nice Hyperliquid mug. And I've written my notes down.
Oil profit,
35K. Not bad.
Banging, bro.
Don't tell Mrs. Guy that.
But you let the CBC members know about this last week, right?
I did. I told our Coin Bureau. Yep, I put a research feed post in the Coin Bureau Club. Basically, Hyperliquid for the win. Explaining my decision. I actually did a follow-up post kind of on it today, going into a bit more detail about why Hyperliquid has won. But they kind of got everything right, didn't they?
They did indeed, yeah. And if you guys wanted to go and actually read that post, you can, but you'll first have to subscribe to the Coin Bureau Club, which we've got over there. Scan that QR code. We obviously break down our portfolios there, as well as do regular research feed posts and once weekly. Not just altcoin review now. We now review crypto companies as well as
crypto companies. I think tokenized oil is actually one of the options for the next review.
Now that's going to be interesting.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
So you're going to break down the. You're going to.
Well, it depends if our members vote for it.
Interesting.
Now, before we get the TA, though, I want to sound you out on this. Do you think? I mean, Hyperliquid. It depends on which coin tracking site you look at, but it is just outside the top 10 cryptos by market cap, and I kind of think, well, maybe that's had something to do, partly because they've been doing all these buybacks, so there are fewer sort of hype coins in circulation. But what do you think? Do you think hype can be a top 10 crypto very soon?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those that's got the best product market fit right now. Let's be real. For people, it's one that's obviously generating the most revenue. It's one that TradFi individuals are also trading with. It has the 24-hour markets right now. And I think it's come at this perfect time where it's, in terms of competitors, like we've seen, the Lighters, Asters, etc. Even though some may have potentially slightly faster protocol, in this case of Lighter, it still hasn't been able to get over that first mover advantage that Hyperliquid has. And so I think it'll be a hard one to beat. And therefore, I think, especially going into a bear market, if a lot of these other big top tier L1s, high market cap L1s continue falling in price, Hyper can continue rallying, so it should go into that top 10 there.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm looking on CoinMarketCap, which is, I guess, slightly more accurate. CoinGecko puts in all these Ethereum, various forms of wrapped ETH and what have you. So Hyperliquid currently has a market cap of $10.180 billion. Cardano has a market cap of $10.315 billion. So hype could flip ADA at any moment. Although Cardano hasn't had too bad a week. I mean, as I say, there's a lot of green in the market right now. But yeah, I mean, I kind of think, it does see, Hyperliquid does kind of seem to have bear market proofed itself.
Yeah, you don't think that there's lots of people trading perps over on Cardano's network,
I'm not sure what the top perp dex on Cardano is, but I don't think its volumes are going to be enough to trouble Hyperliquids anytime soon, put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine they start a Cardano contract, or the ADA contract on Hyperliquid gets more volume than Cardano and its own basis.
I'm not going to say anything. Let's move on. Okay, so it is. So that is Hyperliquid. Let us know. Are you hype holders? Let us know in the comments. So it is time for our Miami correspondent, our South Florida correspondent, to join us with a bit of his top tier TA.
Charts and trends, he'll show the way. Lewis brings the TA today.
What's going on, guys? I'm going to do a little bit of TA for you, and since you're talking about hype, I figured I might as well do my TA on hype. Now, if you take a look at it, before you do any TA, or before I do any TA, the first thing that I want to look at is just where the price is relative to almost everything else in the market. And you could see right now, hype is around $38, which is the same price that it was back in October and even in November. So because hype is doing so well compared to literally so many others, like 99% of all altcoins, you have to think, what will happen when the market as a whole actually starts moving up and doing very well? Well, I would think that because hype is doing so well right now and the whole entire market is not doing very good, that hype will do extraordinarily well when the market actually does pick up. So hype is definitely one that I want to be getting into. You could see that what happened was that hype actually came down into the liquidity zone right underneath that gigantic wick that happened on October 6th. And it really, and if we go back down, it wasn't really, I always think it's October 6th because that's what the weekly chart says, but it's actually October 10th. I knew it was October 10th. It came down, hit the liquidity zone underneath the wick, and then, basically is off to the races. And this is also a clue into what you could potentially be thinking about for other coins that maybe haven't gotten to below the October 10th wicks yet, right? So that's just a little hint, and that's something that I'm doing. Now, taking a look at hype, I'll start out on the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, you can see that it has begun a higher high, higher low, and now a higher high. So it's in a confirmed uptrend. However, it is in the weekly bearish order block coming up to the golden ratio from the very, very top to the very, very bottom at around $44 or $45, right? And so in this area, this is going to be a really, really big resistance. And so I'm just a little bit more cautious right now. And I think that instead of trying to catch the last, 15%, 16% up, I think that it has too high of a probability of turning around from there and maybe coming back down to around $33, $32, $31, $30. And so that is the area where I would be wanting to really, look for longing opportunities around $30 to $33 based off of this chart. Now, if you go down to the lower time frames, you can actually draw a trend line connecting the bottom supports, and you can put an alert on the trend line. So if it comes down there, and you could say that if it does hit the trend line where there is a big support area, well, that would be a potentially really good area to long. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for hype. And there are actually other coins that aren't doing bad at all either. For example, there's MNT that came into my idle buy zone down here at the very, very bottom. And I just did something super, super, super simple for this, which was literally just look at the chart and say, hey, look, it bounced from this area so many times over and over and over again. So I figured, look, this is probably going to be a good area to long if I happen to see a long opportunity down in this area. And I'm sure there are dozens of other coins that fall into this same type of category or the same type of pattern where they're all the way down to where they have continually bounced from over and over and over again. So if a coin is down in this zone, hey, maybe it's not a bad idea to actually long it. And as a lot of people might know, I did pivot a lot of my capital outside of crypto, but I actually saw the same exact thing that I was talking about in the Coinbase stock right here just a couple weeks ago in February. And you know what? I figured, hey, look, it bounced from this area multiple times. So this is probably going to be a good area to long. And it ended up going up over 50% from the lows in this area. So I would say that if you see something that you like fundamentally and it is at a major support, hey, it might not be a bad time to go in. And so those are my market thoughts. And for next week, what I'll do is I'll just look through the charts and try to find different coins and stocks and other assets that are at the major supports. And so with that, I'll hand it back off to you guys.
There we go. Hype and Mantle, MNT.
Yeah.
Good ones, guys.
Yeah, Mantle gets talked about a lot on Twitter, which I don't spend any time on anymore because it's usually full of garbage, but there we are. Okay, shall we have a look at the tweets of the week?
Let's go. Speaking of.
Tweets of the week. Okay, first one is from Gort, once again knocking out of the park. Why don't they just tokenize the oil in the Middle East and transport it across permissionless financial rails, therefore avoiding the Strait of Hormuz altogether? Duh.
Of course, man. It's so simple. Just take those tokenized oil shares, go over to one of the refiners in Texas and be like, here's my tokenized oil shares, guys.
Yeah.
Can we
just put it in your tokenized car and off you go.
There you go. Refine this tokenized product.
Yeah. Great stuff from Gort. What's next?
This This is it's not a crypto-related tweet, but I think it's hilarious. This is from Ali Alezadeh. He said, the US spent 20 years and trillions of dollars replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. And Trump replaced the Ayatollah with Ayatollah Khomeini in just 9 days. The most efficient US president ever.
Brilliant. So fast. We did it so quickly. Next up, we have, so this is Pete Hegseth, who has come in for fair bit of criticism. New Pentagon budget report shows Pete Hegseth spent $93 billion in 1 month, making it the highest monthly expense since 2008. This budget report includes spending $2 million on Alaskan king crab.
Have you ever eaten Alaskan king crab, Guy?
I have not.
No, yes.
I have not.
No.
I have never been a guest at the Pentagon, though. So, I mean, at least they're buying American, I guess.
That is true. I mean, and it is for their troops. Or it could just be all Pete Hegseth on his...
maybe he's just maybe the guy
lost.
just really... I mean, he looks like the sort of guy who likes crab. He's actually sort of doing an impression of a crab there. Yeah. With his hand, isn't he? Next up, we have this one. What's going on here then?
Oh, so this is just some comment on Kubesi letter, basically. And essentially, the news was that the U.S. officials say Iran has laid mines in the Strait of Hormuz, per the Wall Street Journal. Just yesterday, the U.S. said there was no indication that Iran was laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. These mines are being described as the most destructive weapons that the U.S. Navy has faced. And this guy's like... Yesterday, no mines. Today, most destructive weapons the Navy has ever faced. The intelligence updates on this war have the consistency of a horoscope.
Maybe they're getting their updates from Twitter.
Probably.
Yeah, the US Navy's just on Twitter all the time to try and find out what's going on. We also have this one from Sergei Alexashenko.
Speaking of mines.
It's the Strait of Hormuz version of Minesweeper, an old classic.
It's an actual game. You can actually go and click on that link.
You can
sweep the strait. I mean, yeah.
Wow. Okay, we'll just get that done, and then vessels
I'm playing it right now. One.
Easy.
I'm playing it now. Managed to survive. Oh, I got hit of mine.
Oh.
Close.
Sorry, everyone. The economic crisis continues because Nick is crap at Minesweeper. I apologise. There's nothing we can do. Finally, this one is interesting. So Boris Johnson, who I'm sure you'll remember, Nick, as once upon a time
the great Prime Minister, up there with Margaret Thatcher, Winston Churchill, right?
He was a Prime Minister. He's been having opinions about Bitcoin.
Oh my! What's the opinion this time?
Well, he wrote an article in the Daily Mail, which is one of several outlets that pays him obscene amounts of money to have opinions for money to a deadline, and he basically talking about how some old geezer that he knew had lost money on Bitcoin, and Boris has therefore decided that Bitcoin must be a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, I love the fact that you've got a collection of Michael Saylor, Eric Trump, and Paolo Arduino jumping in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Several people actually pointing out that that's not actually how Ponzi schemes work.
Yeah.
There could be some interesting context to this, actually, because Nigel Farage, who is sort of currently kind of out conservating the Conservative Party, recently invested quite a substantial sum into a Bitcoin treasury company in the UK. So Nigel Farage, who's threatening to sort of, maybe be the next British Prime Minister, and who is no friend of Boris Johnson's, as far as I know. The fact that he's in Bitcoin, that may have prompted that from Boris there. So, wheels within wheels. So
it's all political.
It's all politics at the end of the day. Yeah. Any dates for the diary this week, Nick?
Yeah, it's a big week. Wednesday, very important day. We've got PPI numbers, and then the consensus for the PPI month on month is 0.5%, with previous being 0.3%. We've also got the FOMC day, FOMC interest rate decision. The consensus is no change
at
3.75%. Yeah. But of course, you should be excited about the summary of economic projections.
Oh yeah,
we'll live for those moments, guys. It's that release moves the markets. Would be really interesting to hear what Powell has to say in his Fed speak about the latest kerfuffle in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, he must be so pleased he's retiring soon. He must be tired.
He's not retiring though. I think he may stay on.
He's going to stay on as a governor.
As governor, yes, to be a thorn in Trump's side because just to basically stick it to Trump because of Trump trying to basically prosecute him, really.
Yeah. Oh, for the days when an FOMC meeting was big news, and maybe we were going to get a rate cut, maybe not. Not anymore. And then on Thursday, it's initial jobless claims, right?
Yeah, consensus is 213K versus the previous, which was 211.
Okay. All right. I will run you through some of the comments that people. Schwab is saying, yes, Pete Hesgeth. He seems like the type of guy to sell meth at the back of a steakhouse.
What an amazing
back of steakhouse meth. And Stephen Warden pointing out, think how much worse the Iran situation could be if we didn't have a peace prize winning president.
Yeah, and the FIFA Peace Prize.
FIFA Peace Prize.
That should means, wow.
The FIFA Peace Prize, which is so special, they've never awarded it to anyone before.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, I mean, to be honest, guys, don't worry. This war in the Middle East will be solved soon because Trump's Board of Peace is going to get involved, right?
Yeah.
They're going to try and get to the root cause of what happened here.
Once those guys are in the house. Is Vladimir Putin on the Board of Peace?
He is, including Netanyahu.
Okay, the famously Zen, peace-loving Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu. Fantastic. Just going back to Hyperliquid, I think this is a good point from someone whose name is all consonants. Volumes of DEX are rising quickly. It's just a matter of time before it flips and kills SEX, which will turn into fiat on and off ramp. I think so. Kind of one of the only reasons I think it hasn't already sort of done that is because the onboarding thing, what with USDC on Arbitrum, is a little bit. Is a little bit too friction heavy for some people, especially
You first need USDC. You need to go and buy USDC, and then you need to bridges and all of that. So it is a bit of a complicated onboarding. Well, for people who are non-crypto natives, yes.
Yeah.
When they can easily just go and trade oil contracts on Robinhood or something, right? But I still think that you still can't trade 24/7 there unless they release perps, perp contracts in Robinhood, which I don't have right now. So yeah.
Yeah. And we'll leave with Zeiscapade. We want Cousin Barry. Cousin Barry has been very busy recently, getting up to mischief in the South Essex area. So I can't guarantee that Cousin Barry can make an appearance. But I'll tell you what, I'll ring him up and see if he's around because I'm sure he'd love to check in with all of you.
Maybe he can be the guest. Maybe he can be the guest TA session next week.
Cousin Barry's TA.
Yeah, Cousin Barry's TA.
That I think would probably break what is left of people's morale in the crypto market. But I'll ask him. I think he's the kind of guy to get into tokenized perps. I think he's probably trading Brent crude at 50x irresponsible leverage. That's the sort of person Cousin Barry is. So I will ask him.
The degenerate he is, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That is about it for this week, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Please do remember that we will be here on the Coin Bureau podcast channel from now on. So tell all your friends. Like I say, I think most people have figured it out.
FUD and FOMO on Friday, guys.
FUD and FOMO on Friday. Also on the Coin. So now all your Coin Bureau live streams that aren't on the trading channel will be here.
Yeah.
Okay. Got that?
So you got it, guys.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you on Friday.
Cheers.
Take care.
Get rid of all the bureaus. 21, good luck, bros. Wish I had before road. Smash the like to the moon. Good stuff, boys. All until off you guys. Smash the like to the moon. Good stuff, boys. All until off you guys. Hey, I'm watching from Salvador. This chick could be the finest attraction. Smash the like to the moon, good stuff, boys. All until off you guys. Smash the like to the moon, good stuff, boys. All until off you guys.
Okay, bro, I got a question for you, right? What is your favorite air defense system? Are you a Patriot guy or are you more of a THAAD?
THAAD, bro. THAAD. Yeah, that's
okay.
mine.
Okay. Why the THAAD, though? Like, don't you think the Patriot is
bro.
like
it's
preeminent?
Billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Okay. So, but I mean, like, it's a big deal at the moment. Have they got enough